All right.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So one of the things that happens in a lot of people's writing is they sometimes spin out of control because they don't know how to answer a question, right? So at the beginning, I'm using one of the ones from your pre-assessment. I asked, one of the questions was, what are some socioeconomic issues in Hansel and Gretel? I think I gave you some of these in the prompt: poverty, hunger, child abuse, abandonment. And then use examples from the story in contemporary times, focus on one of these issues and discuss how it is a problem today. So when I see that question, I know there's two things I have to do. What are they?
You have to choose one of the issues.
So I'm going to choose one of the issues, right? This is going to help me focus. Believe it or not, when you start, your brain could probably do all four of these, right? No problem. But when you're focusing on one, it's going to make it stronger. So we're going to talk about poverty. So I'm going to use an example from the story and an example from contemporary times, because that's what the prompt asked me to do. And it says focus on one of these issues. Well, the issue I'm going to focus on is poverty. Right? I think I've made the task easier for myself now. So in this body paragraph, I'm going to focus on poverty. This meal format was not something that I came up with. Like most ideas, if they're a good idea, I steal it, and then I modify it. So you can look online and type in meal format writing, meal format paragraphs, and you will find many links. The M, you're writing this down, stands for make an assertion, or main idea. The E stands for example or evidence. The A stands for analyze the evidence. Blushing.
Thank you.
And the L stands to link to the overall thesis. So bear with me here. As I told you before, I'm always kind of hesitant to start with a main idea or a thesis because I don't know where I'm going usually. I like to discover my way into what I'm thinking. So in this case, I know that I'm writing about poverty because I narrowed it down, I've read the story, I've thought about it. I'm like, okay. So I think about where's an example of some poverty in the story? I can hear you.
In Hansel and Gretel?
Yeah.
They live in a small house, I guess? Don't know where you...
They don't have enough food.
Not enough food, not enough resources.
Okay. So I'm going to start with the example. And I remember, I can change all this. This is a rough draft. For example, Hansel and Gretel live in a small house without much food. Yeah? You all right with that? Yeah? Okay. So I got my example here. This is just generally how I work. You can see I'm kind of working all over the place. I go down to the analyze the evidence next, because I still know what I'm thinking about. Okay, so yeah. Well, they live in a small house, there's not a lot of food, not many resources, and then I've got to analyze that. For me, and for you, and for what I'm asking you to do in this class, this is the part, and I tell people, anybody can give me evidence, and anybody can give me evidence and examples. Remember what I told you, monkeys and parrots mimic. This is just you kicking back what's there. This is where you make your money in life. This is where analyzing something is where the key is. Because anybody can have an opinion and tell you what they think it is. But it's the analysis when you convince us. When you convince us. So now I'm going to say, like, why is all this important? When I analyze something, so why is that important? The Grimm brothers demonstrate that poverty, remember I did want to stay with poverty, knew that that's where I wanted to start, that poverty forces people into horrendous decisions. That's my analysis, right? Now, I'm actually going to go back up because so far I haven't given you a horrendous decision. Did I have a horrendous decision here? It's not going to change that a bit. Maybe I'll add another sentence just to kind of help me. So for example, Hansel and Gretel live in a small house without much food. Therefore, their father takes them to the woods and abandons them. Is that a little bit better? Okay, now I need to probably go back up to a main idea. What am I saying? I think I kind of said it in a way down here. Poverty, staying on my main term, does significant damage to family units. By the way, again, this might be horrible as a thesis or a main idea, but I can tell you right now, I'm not sitting at a blank page worried about what I'm going to say. And that's one of the key things that many of you talk about when you talk about problems with writing. It's like, I don't know how to start. And I'm telling you, like, this is, if you start with the evidence, the thing you read, it's not hard to start. Because it's going to tell me, oh, I got to think about this. And as I start going on thinking about it, because I'm telling you, like I said before, most of us are all in the same intelligence range. When you've got something to get you started, it's not hard. And that's why I think the evidence example is one of the easiest places to start, because someone else might take this and say an entirely different thing. But that's not what's important. What's important is the analysis that's going to go into it. That's why I say that's the part where you're convincing us. And then finally, the L, like we said, linked to an overall thesis. Maybe my overall thesis is about all fairy tales or folk tales. And maybe I'm saying, in fairy tales, we discover, look how I'm trying to help you. Ready? We discover realistic forces, fairy tales discover realistic forces that involve, can you see this? Mm-hmm. That involve children and their lives. So for a body paragraph, I basically let the story tell me how I should write that. And then it comes all together. Poverty does, and that's my chance to revise. Hold on a second. Poverty does damage, ... So I'm writing out the whole paragraph now. When I get to the end, you know, in fairy tales, ... I have found that when I move from this, probably now I might be typing, because I hand wrote this. When I start to type, that's when I can start to make some changes. If you're hearing me, I'm reading it out loud as I do it. I can tell you right now that I don't like the last sentence, and I'm not sure I want to put together two here. But I haven't figured it out yet. And we're just still in the rough draft. I personally would move to the next body paragraph. I would move to the next body paragraph. One thing you also find in your essays is Hansel and Gretel might teach me about how to write about Echo and Narcissus. Echo and Narcissus, my body paragraph, might teach me, oh yeah, maybe I could talk about the same point in Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox. Like, don't discard that the paragraphs that you're writing tend to start to teach you about what your big overarching point will be. Are there questions about this? Like something, does this make sense? Awesome. This is perfect for short answer responses on tests. This right here. Believe it or not, most of your teachers in other disciplines, they're looking, I'm not saying people are lazy. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying people scan. By scan or skim, they're going to look for the main idea. Osmosis causes this. Evidence. In 9 out of 10 cases, osmosis leads to blah, blah, blah. Like they're scanning your work. When you got, this is guiding people. Here's the main idea. Here's the evidence to back up my main idea. Here's the analysis. You can go on and give me an A. I'm not saying that I'll give you an A, but do you understand what I mean by a short answer response? Because in a testing environment, what happens for most people is they start wandering around trying to figure out how they're going to answer the question. When if you look at the question first, determine what it is that you need to put in it, and then start with that above your short answer response, you will actually get there quicker in the long run. If that makes sense. Yeah. Also, people don't like to read you, we call it throat clearing. Like, we don't want to read you going, what am I saying? Like, we don't want to read those first 2 or 3 sentences. Thanks.